tomorrow night. Big old time. AJ, you got your costume picked out. You got your outfit.
Yeah.
You should never answer that question. I was just trying to trick. It's a trick question. We don't call them outfits. I'm just kidding. Yeah, we're gonna be having a good time tomorrow. So y'all come and see us. Great bands, great time. 10th anniversary of the station, and here we go. Michelson Laser Vision bringing you the show this hour. Dr. Mark and Dr. Jennifer. Y'all heard my story over and over, and so I'll spare you some of the details. But I'll just say that after years of just neglect, and you couldn't make me go and want to get LASIK. I just was not a candidate in my mind. And I went down there just for business reasons to get to know the practice because they wanted to advertise here on the show. I wound up being a patient and a champion. Even when I'm not talking about them on the radio, I'm telling my friends, man, y'all ought to, if I see somebody with glasses, I'm like, why are you still wearing those? It's like you're in a car and you're asking somebody why they're walking. I mean, you need to get in the car, man. This is a better way to do it. LASIK was amazing for me. I'm still 2015 after going on 7 years, and I do appreciate that I got to go to the best, Dr. Mark Michelson and now Dr. Jennifer Michelson. They both treated me for different things over that period of time. I had an injury one time, and Jennifer really, I mean, I'm telling you, I could have lost an eye if I'd let it get out of hand. It was a wood chip, kind of a splinter that got in my eye from some construction work I was doing, but she saved me, and they're just the best. So look into LASIK and see if it's something that would work for you. You may not be a candidate, in all caution. They may decide you're not a good medical candidate, but at least find that out. And then if you find out you are, they'll educate you. They tell you everything, the good and the bad, the plus, the minuses, any risks that are associated. Then you can make an informed decision. If you decide to make that decision, I hope you're as happy as I've been. It's Michelson Laser Vision. They're downtown UAB Highlands. It's a different UAB facility than the main campus. I always want to point that out because some people get intimidated having to go to all those UAB hospitals. This is real easy to park and go right in the front door at UAB Highlands. MichelsonLaserVision.com. MichelsonLaserVision.com. All right, let me just sort of finish up with this thought. We had a caller last segment, if you're just tuning in, asking about the AG race. An old issue has popped back up toward the end. A video has been produced of a Montgomery cop who was, by now we know with the Supreme Court ruling, wrongly convicted in the shooting death of a guy while he was on duty. He was caught up in that sort of social justice. It was very anti-American to let mob violence dictate court outcomes, but we've done it repeatedly and to a lot of officers that shouldn't be in jail right now. And then sometimes these guys deserve to be convicted. I've covered cases where a cop lost his mind and did everything wrong. I'll never forget a case. I could still smell the gunpowder over in Norwood after this cop chased the kid down and shot him in the back 4 times. Now, that didn't have a racial component. The cop was black, the kid was black, so nobody ever really heard about it. But it went to trial. I covered the trial, and he was sent to prison. As far as I know, he's still there. Cops do wrong things. But in this time period, there was a lot of social justice warriors demanding justice. And it's not justice, it's vengeance. That's an emotional thing. That's not the blind scales of justice deciding how cases should come out. But anyway, I didn't know much about this case. I vaguely remember it being in the news. We don't cover Montgomery, so this was a more localized case. But it's come up in the AG race because the question, and people are so confused, I get a lot of questions about this one accusation, is that, what is it? How's it the AG's fault that the Montgomery jury convicted this guy? What he claims, the officer claims, the AG didn't fight to get him released after a wrongful conviction, after sort of a mob justice trial, and that there was politics involved. And the defense for the AG has always been, I went through some of this last hour, has been, look, that's our job as prosecutors, is to defend these convictions in the appellate courts while the defense attorneys make their case. And that's true. I don't know where the gray area is, where the subjective line is when a prosecutor can take a look back at a case and work with the defendant. At some point, they work to get him to plead to lesser charges just to get him out of prison. And Steve Marshall's office wants credit for that, but this guy's not hearing it. And he's come out with a video somebody sat him down in an interview in the AG race. And let's just say he's no fan of Catherine Robinson. So in the last hour, he had told his backstory. Here's a little bit more of that. Again, I don't know. This thing's 3, 4, 5 minutes long, something like that. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this is the rest of what he says happened to him.
After her first birthday party, I had to lay her down in the crib and turn myself in and watch her grow up through pictures and see her once a month. When I needed the Attorney General's office the most, they were nowhere to be found. Catherine Robertson, she has not had my back in her position as chief counsel at the Attorney General's office. Robertson fought to uphold my conviction, even though she knew I was innocent. What she did to me was just wrong.
I negotiated a plea deal for a Montgomery police officer that had been convicted of manslaughter. We felt wrongfully.
It's cruel, and it stings that much worse hearing them say that they knew it was wrong the whole time and they could have stopped it. If you back the blue, you cannot vote for Catherine Robertson.
So he goes
Jay
on to take some shots, and then he talks about Jay Mitchell because on the Supreme Court they eventually cleared the guy. But so that's what's come up. Here it is Thursday. People are passing that around. I think it's been sent to me 13 times today. Yes, I've seen it. That's a little bit of it. These things do come up late sometimes in these campaigns. We'll let the Robertson campaign continue to make their cases. In some ways, if you ask me politically, these kind of things come up. This also affects the Steve Marshall's campaign. It's his office. I mean, she had a role in it for sure. There's a clip you hear her talking about the wrongful conviction. And again, on her side of the equation, in their mind, they did what they could under the law to get lesser charges, so that he wouldn't have to continue to sit in jail. This officer believes he never should have gone in the first place. And of course, the Jay Mitchell campaign is going to exploit that to the nth degree. And look, he's also had incoming from the other side too. It amazes me that we haven't seen this kind of intensity of accusations in the Senate race, but we haven't. Only late have we seen a group come in and try to take on Jared Hudson. I did see some polling last night that have him in second place, completely unexpected to the establishment thinkers, especially the Montgomery-oriented folks that just assumed Marshall would stay out front the whole time. Steve Marshall has steadily gone backwards the entire race. I don't know that he's given up, but I haven't seen a whole lot of visibility from him. Most of those campaigns, though, have all switched to their positive tracks. A little background on how they do it. You want all the mudslinging to end, which is what I thought was a little unusual about this thing coming out late. It's on YouTube, so again, it's not up on television because it's too long and too detailed an accusation. But usually you don't sling any mud. You're not having any kind of negative stuff. You'll start with your introductory ad. You want people to get to know who you are, especially in a state where none of these people had high name ID right off the bat. And then once you've kind of established yourself before your opponent can, then at some point it gets ugly. People sling accusations back and forth. And then in the end, you try to clean it up again. You want your positive track, what they call your positive track running. So I noticed a lot of the Senate candidates are moved to that strategy. But in the age of perpetual media and nonstop commercials and everything that's associated with that, we definitely have this coming out at the end because, we've still got 4 or 5 more days. Well, again, in a 24-hour cycle, this stuff can get passed around from now till Tuesday. By the way, quick take on the whole thing. People keep asking me about this and that. Number one, I will do my ballot on Monday. It's just a tradition here on the show. I just run through what I think about various races. Y'all can vote for who you want to. I don't get into the endorsement game because I'm not tying myself to some candidate that's going to turn around and let me down because it has happened my whole life. But at the same time, I'll tell you who I vote for. I also don't want to feel obligated to campaign for these people or advocate for them or against them. But I have to make my mind up like you do. And years ago, I remember a lady called up and said, well, who are you voting for? And I thought, how can I be on the air every day talking about this stuff and not acknowledge that? So I always do it, win or lose. And y'all are welcome to share your own ballots. By the way, let's talk about the ballot. We're still having the ballots that were printed are still the ballots we'll vote on in all of these races. I think between the lackluster campaigns, we don't have a governor's race, we don't have Trump on the ballot. Well, we have a governor's race, but it's not one of those fiery competitive governor's races. High undecideds in all the polling for most of these candidates. I mean, nobody ever pays attention to LG. AG's gotten hot, but people are still almost 50% undecided on it. The Senate race is a little tighter, but there's still an unusually high undecided on that. And I don't know that there's been enough to just drive people out. There's graduations going on the same night. I think several schools have all that going on that evening where families get locked into that. I just feel like this can be one of the lowest turnout primaries we've seen in a long time. And then you've got the confusion of all these court rulings and the redistricting and all that stuff, because we're going to have to do a do-over with the House of Representatives races in August. Then there may be a runoff, likely in the Senate race, in between next Tuesday and August. So we got this little 6-week gap. Then we're in July, and then boom, back in August, we're back to the polls again. We'll go to the polls 3 times in the next 3 months, potentially. So again, I just think folks are looking the other way and got other stuff on their minds right now. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see on Tuesday night. And we'll, of course, be doing our normal coverage and talking to you about it as well. A lot going on this time of the year. Somebody calls it May. What do they call it? Maycember. It's like December and May with all the family stuff and the kids stuff and everything else distracting us. Y'all, one more time for Alabama Bass, and I'll get on these phones, 545-9950. If you got some thoughts on any of these races, questions, we can go ahead and noodle it around. Pretty slow news day, so we don't have anything driving the show today like we tend to these days. My buddy Mike and Jill and John and all those guys over at Alabama Bass are ready to improve life at your house, especially, well, you know, some people just would like a safer system and you don't have any mobility issues. It's just slippery in your bathtub. And I totally understand that. There was a long period where I lived alone, and I always would think, man, sometimes I'd get in there and slip a little bit and go, what if something were to happen to me over here? How would I call for help? And then you've got situations where people really do have debilitating things that have happened in life, whether it's just age itself, or you got somebody in your family, even a younger person that has a disability and needs extra help. Alabama Bath has solutions, and beautiful solutions. Their product is better than their competitors. It just is. It's a better quality product. It's custom fit. They don't make you these pie-in-the-sky promises that they're going to come in and do it in one day. It's a 2-day deal because they have to come back and pressure test. Anybody that tells you they can come in, they can put it in one day, but they always come do the follow-up, and that's because they're thorough, and that's why they've been around for 40 years. One more time about our veterans, too. John's a veteran, and he gets it. Some of these VA programs can be difficult to comply with or cumbersome, but there are programs that might help pay for this for you if you've got a service-connected reason to get this kind of upgrade in your home. And they get it at Alabama Bass, and they'll take their time and let you get through all of that and get the install done for you and get you a price that'll accommodate those programs and make that happen for you. Some of these big corporate entities they're going to waste time on that. But a good local business, a good family business, 2 generations over there at Alabama Bass, yeah, they're going to do that. That's what your neighbors do. That's what a good neighbor would do. It's Alabama Bass. Y'all can go see them in Pelham if you want to take a look at one of the build-outs. They're happy to show off. Otherwise, they'll come to you. AlabamaBass.com, AlabamaBass.com. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. EcoView Windows and Doors bringing you the show tonight. That's Becky Jackson's company, woman-owned and operated. That matters to some people. She's so awesome, man. They are so no nonsense. I remember when I first met them, Becky and her husband, they came in and I said, well, tell me how you got into this. She goes, I knew there could be a better business, so I bought this one, gutted it, fired everybody, and she just went through the whole thing. She wound up buying the best products available at the best prices, being able to rehire the best installers. She just went out and found the best people that would just work hard and do the stuff right. Like a lot of products that you'll put on your home, the install has to be correct for everything to work like they promise it's going to work. And then they back everything with, of course, all kinds of warranties on the product itself. They've got a 35% guarantee on the efficiency of their window products that tells you that, and ask her how that works out. But over the course of 12 months after you have the install done, of course, you got to wrap your whole house. Can't leave any leaks, but they can save you 35% on your heating and cooling bills. And I don't know, man, go back and add that up. That turns into a lot of money over time. It starts to pay for itself. And plus, I mean, there may even be some tax incentives to weatherize your home. That's an old term. They don't even call it that anymore, do they? Make it more efficient with the various programs that are out there. Let Becky and her team do that for you. Becky Jackson and EcoView Windows. Let them come show you what they can do. And yes, people ask me sometimes, will they do just a window? Yeah, they'll do that, of course. Probably not going to come with that 35% savings, but yeah, they'll come do that. They just want to be your window and door company. You'll be proud of your windows. You can finally open them and close them and sleep comfortably at night and not overpay on your power bills. It's ecoviewwindows.com, ecoviewwindows.com. I'm going to revisit this Mobile story because I think this is just crazy, and I had not heard much about it. It was starting to come out yesterday afternoon. But an explosive device was found at the base of a dam that holds a good portion, if not, some people are saying it's all of Mobile's drinking water supply. I can't imagine they've got it all bottled up behind one dam, but a diving team was inspecting the dam and found an IED down there. So they had to call in these bomb technicians and other rapid response marine type units, I guess you would say, with that kind of capability. And they came in and were able to retrieve it and control, detonate it. And of course, they've notified the federal authorities. We don't know much more than that. And the news broke late last night, and I looked at it 2 or 3 times a day, and I thought, somebody's making stuff up. This didn't happen. But apparently it did. And the guys that run the water department down there are saying that they're calling it an unprecedented threat. So then that begs the question, was this incidental somehow? Because it was an IED, somebody built a device. But how was it deployed? Who did it? All these questions. My bigger questions is this part of an ongoing thing? Are there other attempts on infrastructure anywhere else in the country? And is this an alarm, this sort of a canary in the coal mine incident? Should other dams be inspected? Now, we'll let the security officials figure that out. I'm sure the feds will come in with their incredible technology to sort of deconstruct bombs and reconstruct bombs and help the authorities get to the bottom of it. But that's an alarming story. It made national news today, and we still don't know a whole lot more than that. Thank goodness, and I said it earlier when we talked about this story, for an alert diver who I know that's his job, but he got in there and found. Can you imagine being this guy down several feet in dark, murky water, and you come across what looks like an explosive at the base of a dam? We also don't know from the authorities down there whether or not this would have had the capability, the size of the explosive, to do any significant impact, or was this just something smaller? Because they called it an IED, grenade type IED, and I don't think a hand grenade could punch through the structure of a dam that size. But hey, I'm no damn expert. So if anything else develops on that, we haven't heard a thing from the authorities today. I'm sure the feds will be heavily involved. We've got to keep our minds and our eyes open on all the infrastructure, especially in these times where we've always suspect there could be terror cells or just people with that are just nuts because internet's making everybody crazy nowadays that would try to do something like this. Lord help us. Y'all, Southern Skies Dermatology, one more sponsor here before we go to the bottom. Y'all go get checked. I tell you every single night, and I think some of you just listen past me. Go get checked. Seriously. If you got skin, you could have skin cancer, and you don't want skin cancer. It is a battle of a lifetime if you wind up having to deal with it. Let Southern Skies check you because this is all they do. The latest technology, the highly trained eyes of Dr. Mario and his team, and they'll clear you of it. If you have it, they'll remove it. If you don't have it, they'll give you a thumbs up. It could very well save your life. Great locations all around, and a new one opening this year on 280. It's Southern Skies Dermatology.com, Southern Skies Dermatology.com. pictures of a bunch of leather stuff that just came off the trucks. It's ahead of Memorial Day, so it's hard to believe we're already talking about Memorial Day, but here we go. So he sent me some beautiful recliners, and some of these are these overstuffed styles that people just love. You just sink down in those and just take a nap. And then there, of course, other styles that people like, some fabrics that he's showing me, some tighter patterns, a nice, beautiful sofa that he's got here, a huge sectional, a lot of leather involved. And so here's what Reggie says that they're doing between now. I'm literally announcing the sale right now because he just sent it to me. I said, can I go ahead and turn on the green light? He said, go. So here we go. Be the first to pick through this stuff. It's hot off the truck. Here we go. So overall, you're going to get $100 off every $1,000 you spend. They're going to return to that through Labor Day. Good stuff. Lots of Lazy Boy recliners. They just got a massive recliner shipment in. And they've got leather recliners starting at $5.99. These are leather. I love leather because it just lasts. I know some of the ladies prefer fabric, but if you're getting your old man a recliner, he wants leather because you can spill things on it and you can do things to it, and it just looks better with age. So y'all go to Lanius and get in on these deals. Other stuff around the building, they're still unloading. While I'm talking about the sale, they're still unloading some new reclining sectionals that with built-in recliners. So everything kind of tucks away, but makes a nice family hangout space when you got that kind of sectional modular furniture that can be moved around. Y'all, it is Lanius Furniture Company, an acre of selection under one roof. As I always tell you about, you're just not going to see more things in one place than you will at Lanius, in an out-of-the-way place in the little town of Kimberly, Alabama, right there on I-65. Y'all go and see them, LaniusFurnitureCompany.com. Well, let me throw some weather stuff in here. And I know we had a pretty good conversation going. If y'all want to throw anything else on the table or ask questions, get on in here tonight. Tomorrow will be all about the Jawbone Jam. And then, of course, Monday, a lot of election stuff and candidates and this kind of thing. And then, boom, it's election day. But I just saw this morning, and I'm seeing more and more updates on it. Apparently, we're going into an El Nino pattern. I remember when we first started talking about this stuff. It's a warming of the waters off the Pacific, and it controls the weather all over the world. And so the data that's coming in right now say it's maybe one of the warmest El Ninos in history. I don't know how far back recorded data goes. It's amazing how these guys figure all this stuff out. But it is I saw a color map, and I assume it was accurate, but it shows this sort of band of hot water. And then, of course, the jet stream will move over that. That affects the air. That affects the whole water cycle. So what does it mean for us? I'm still having trouble getting it all nailed down just for the Southeast in terms of the long trends, but it looks like potentially a cooler and wetter summer. And so what it'll do is it'll redistribute the weather patterns where one area of the country will just get flooding and one area of the country will get drought because it kind of all forms up along the jet stream. I know there's probably some meteorologists listening to me rolling their eyes. I'm no meteorologist, but I can read. So, so I'm fascinated with that. As we head into summer, we've had a remarkably cool spring. It's amazing. Like, it was almost chilly this morning earlier this week. I had on a long sleeve shirt, man. We're almost in mid-May. And now the heat gets turned back on this weekend for us, and it's coming with some humidity. So we're going to get sure enough summer before you know it. And cross your fingers, we've managed to get through spring without a lot of severe weather. Now, there's one long-term forecast that has us getting some rougher weather toward the end of May. And we'll wait for that to form up to give you any details because it's just hard to know exactly how that's going to play out. But, man, El Nino. There's El Nino and there's a La Nina. And don't even ask me the difference. I think El Nino means warmer Pacific weather, and then La Nina means, a cooler stream. And they flip-flop from each other. But what it does is it really affects weather all over the world. The last time there was a big El Nino, there were some massive droughts. Economies were the whole farm economies across parts of Asia and Africa just collapsed because of the lack of rain and, again, the redistribution of the water. Then in some cases it was flooding. So I don't know if that means just a flooding, soaking wet summer or not, but something to keep your eye on as we head into summertime. Let me check some other things before we get too far down the road. Let's talk about Cuba real quick. Even while Trump is over there talking to General So or whoever it is over in that he's talking to in China, there's been some tension. I was going to play a clip a little while ago, almost fisticuffs between security officials in China and Trump's Secret Service detail. It's getting tense behind the scenes as they move about and where people can go with what. Some of the media also getting not treated very pleasantly by the Chinese. So we'll see what their stories are when they actually get back. I don't know how many of them are free to report everything that's going on or not, but it's been kind of weird to watch some of that. And then, of course, the pageantry. They have really rolled out the proverbial red carpet. I would tell them if you're over there and everything starts getting tense, somebody should just yell, Godzilla. No, that's Japan, right? It'll still work in China. Try it. Just Godzilla and watch them run around. And then you got the upper hand. It always works. I've never actually done it, but I just think it's fun to talk about. So let's talk about Cuba. I meant to get into that, and I squirreled myself. John Ratcliffe is the director of our CIA, as you know, and the dude just personally went to Cuba to meet with their communist government. My head's just spinning around just at the thought of that. Cuba, communist nation, had become an adversary during the communist regime, which they're still there. But in a million years, you couldn't imagine our CIA, of all people, who've had them under surveillance since the 50s, just going and sit down and having a meeting. Now, the reason for the meeting and what we're being told is they're negotiating sort of a surrender or a regime change for the people that run Cuba to have a sort of peaceful scale down of all these years of sort of a mini Cold War with this country. Now, the thought of which is exhilarating to me, that the Cuban people would be free of this insanity, all while we've got American cities starting to embrace the failed ideas that ruined Cuba. Isn't that amazing? Cuba is about to be free and running from socialism and controlled governments and central planning, and New York City's gone the other way. It's just, I'm a child of the 80s. I'm from the Cold War. That stuff just doesn't calculate with me. But so whether it will become a military operation or whether or not and I hope it not, because this thing in Iran needs to get round up. By the way, the Chinese say they're going to help with that today. I don't trust them, but they say they need this thing opened back up. They need to be involved. Europe's now finally getting involved. They actually did some military stuff in the Strait today. So that thing's working its way through in terms of whatever resolution will come from Iran. I will say I'm deeply disappointed that the Iranian people have not been able to rise up and take power in this vacuum right now. But you still get a sense that that's out there and that's hanging out there impossible. They're being held down right now by the vestiges of the regime. But Cuba's it's a whole different animal. And there's such a connection between us, the United States, and this country. And I don't know what happens the minute it falls. When it falls, I believe there'll be some repatriation of a lot of families who will want to immediately go there for the business opportunities. The tourism alone could be incredible. I mean, that's a beautiful island in a tropical setting with eventually everything to offer. Now, I just hope American companies don't go down there and build a theme park and a Vomitron and, a TGI Fridays on every corner. Maybe some authenticity from the people and the culture can remain, but yet Americans be free to travel there easier. Now, we've been able to open that up really since the Obama regime. One of my sons actually just went there on a trip a few years ago and enjoyed himself, but was also shocked by the really base conditions that these people are left in. And if you think about it, the Cubans have been used to living in substandard conditions because they're in a communist economy, despite their proud heritage. And now it's gotten even worse. Rolling blackouts, permanent blackouts, garbage isn't getting picked up. They don't have basic services. The government's under extreme pressure and collapse. And here's the Americans coming saying, hey, let's talk it out. So bottom line is we sent the CIA director. I know Marco Rubio has been the lead on these efforts to negotiate with the Cubans, but he's in China. And so now they got Ratcliffe down there leading the talks and trying to come to some compromise. Let's see where this goes. There's no way to know a timeline on it. And anybody that's in power, they're going to be resistant. What they're going to do, based on some analysis and stuff I was reading a couple of weeks ago, is the power brokers then they're going to try to cut deals for themselves. They're going to try to cut golden parachutes. They're going to try to enrich themselves and take on their way out the door. And that's largely what's holding a lot of this stuff up. It's not as much of any fantasy they have that the regime can continue under communism, but they're getting the best bargain because they know they're sort of the gatekeeper right now, and Trump wants this done. I don't see them becoming a 51st state. People have talked about that. Some of that was in the news too when it comes to Venezuela. But just to see a free Cuba just right there off our coast would be pretty remarkable in my lifetime. We'll keep watching it. Here's one other spot story while I'm just throwing things at you this afternoon. A plane has crashed into a house in Akron, Ohio. Looks like a small plane in a relatively small house. The whole house is on fire. That's crazy. I hope nobody was home. Can you imagine? I mean, it rarely does it happen, but it happens. Now I'm seeing an update on the story that 2 are dead after the plane crashed into this home in Canterbury. It's a Canterbury Circle area of Akron, Ohio. We don't know if the dead are in the plane or on the ground. That would seem to be 2 people would sound like the people on the plane. But we'll wait and get an update on that too. Pretty crazy looking scene as we roll through the afternoon. All right, quick break. We'll come back here in just a minute. More of your phone calls too. 545-9950. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. All right, y'all, let's keep on going. Axiom Tax Resolution Group. That's Perry Cronin and his whole crew over there. Man, they can get you some relief if you're stressed out about your tax bill. And it comes in a number of ways. You might have screwed up yourself. You might have gotten some bad advice. The tax code itself will trip you up. Maybe it's just a liability that built up and you just can't pay it. Reach out to Axiom. There are programs to help you settle that debt, get a payment plan, get it reduced. You just got to know how to do it. He knows how to do it. He knows more about this than probably anybody in this country. And he's right here in Birmingham. Isn't it great to be able to sit down and with these very, very personal matters, all your money, your finances and stuff, and get this worked out with the privacy of their services and go back to sleep at night and not be stressed out over the government coming after you like they will. Don't try to take them on by yourself. I wouldn't even know where to start. Perry knows who to talk to, how to talk to them, what to offer, what your rights are, how to make the harassment stop, how to get a settlement, what's reasonable. And he can give you good advice the whole way. This man helps people sleep better at night. He and his family and his whole team there at Axiom. It's, again, 205tax.com. That's our area code and the word tax. That's how local they are, 205tax.com. The phone number is 205-872-1100, Axiom Tax Resolution Group. Let's hit the phones. We'll go to line one. It's Val on line one. What's up, Val?
Hey, Leland. A little known fact that probably a lot of your listeners don't know is there is a huge Jewish population in Miami that is Cuban.
Yes,
they fled
that's right.
from Europe during from Hitler, and they fled to Cuba. And then when Castro took over, they fled to Miami. I worked with a gentleman whose parents were one of those, and when he was a child, they fled to Miami. All of their homes, as far as you know, are still untouched. Castro took their homes, but never did anything with them. So it would be really incredible if he and the rest of those Jews could get their homes back when all this is done with.
That's a good, interesting footnote. I knew a lot of exiles went to, I think they went to Argentina and went to Portugal as well. Can you imagine your family being run out of Germany and Poland and those countries by Hitler, dispossessed? You flee and go across the world. You go to Cuba and have to get run out by communism right after that.
Yeah, he has a gold bracelet that is made from the bars of the gold that they smuggled out, and
That's
is
amazing.
Absolutely incredible. I can't imagine which one of his children are going to end up with it, but it is just amazing. He wears it every single day.
I guarantee he does.
Priceless.
Look, if you want to find some passionate Americans, you have a conversation about patriotism with these Cuban exiles, especially the second and third generation guys that are here now that never thought this day would come where they could be reunited with their family and all of those things. I think it'd just be a really huge cause for celebration if Trump pulls this off.
Absolutely. And I personally think it would be a great 51st state. Much better than Venezuela.
Yeah, I agree. Better than some of the other options that are being stuffed out there
Absolutely.
right now, for sure. Yeah.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. There's just so much more in common that we have. And I'm not even talking about Ernest Hemingway. AJ knows this. Thanks, Val. We were down. We popped in the Keys again earlier this year. I like to go down there in the winter when it's super cold. I don't really love Key West. It's just too touristy and crowded. But the time before, they have this Ernest Hemingway contest down there at Sloppy Joe's. And it's just a lookalike contest. It's pretty funny, pretty famous kind of contest. They got pictures of all the winners on the wall. And we were in there. I was in there just grabbing a beer, just popping in. And AJ, my wife, looked straight at me and said, "You ought to get in the contest this year." I said, "Really? Hemingway? He's got old guy with a white beard."
So she's trying to tell you something?
Yeah. I felt put upon. I thought I was Don Johnson down there. I didn't. JJ's on line 2. What's up, JJ?
Hey, Leland. Speaking of that part of the country, way down at the tip, do you remember when the Alabama legislature was dealing with the naming of, I don't know why they were dealing with it, but anyway, it was had to do with the naming of the Gulf of Mexico, renaming it the Gulf of America, and they did it at a time when Kay Ivey was in. I'm driving, or I would look it up.
Oh, that's
Kay
fine.
Ivey was in the hospital. Didn't they pass that, and did she sign it, and so did they go ahead and agree with it?
I think they did, because they pretty much, the way it runs in Montgomery now, whether they believe it or not, they'll endorse anything Trump does to associate
Yeah, I was
themselves.
hoping so, but I just never heard any more about it, and I just happened to think of it when you were talking about all those
Yeah.
things.
Gulf of America. I still, as much as I thought it was funny when he did it, I still have trouble remembering to say it.
Well, I think you told me. You told your audience, and I was one of them, that I think it was you or somebody that there was a good reason why he needed to do that, not just for the sound of it, but something that Biden had done in his term.
The theory went that it had to do with offshore oil rigs. That one of the moratoriums that Biden had put into place just with executive order had to do with Gulf of Mexico restrictions, but they changed the name of it. I don't know that follows with the way law works, but they changed the name of it, and suddenly the moratorium's gone. I think he could, with executive order, just fix it. So I looked it up real quick, JJ, and Alabama is one of 5 Gulf states that decided to adopt the name Gulf of America.
Well, good.
So, yeah.
I hope so. I like it. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
All right, there it is. That was back in, let's see, what's the date on this? Oh, this was in April? The headline on the story says it was just in April. I don't know. I'm too busy watching out for how they're going to screw us over to pay attention to superficial stuff like this. But apparently the Senate, of course, did pass the bill having all state agencies refer to it as the Gulf of America instead of the Gulf of Mexico. There, we have clarity. Thank you, JJ. Birmingham Broker bringing you the show tonight, bhambroker.com, downtown Birmingham. If you got a car, truck, or SUV that you're thinking about selling or trading, just take it to them first. I mean, you can do it the hard way. It's up to you. I mean, you can try to sell it yourself, or you can do it the easy way and hand it to a dealer, and they're going to give you a wholesale price and just really screw you over on the whole deal. Or you can take it to Birmingham Broker, and it's both easy and better for your wallet, because you get a full retail check to apply to the next ride or to pay that loan off so you can get into a new situation. People do it all the time. It's the ease of trading one in, which is why we do it. We know it's bad math, but we go hand it over to a dealer because we don't want to fool with it. We're all excited about the new car. Give yourself a minute, take a breath, slow your roll, take it to Birmingham Broker, give them a few days to get that car, truck, or SUV sold, get top dollar, then go back to that dealership and haggle for a new one. You'll feel so much better about yourself and be in better financial position. It can be several $1,000s, the difference nowadays between wholesale and retail. So let Craig and Keith, the nose guys, handle it. They'll handle it. It's done. bhambroker.com, downtown Birmingham, 4th Avenue South. bhambroker.com. All right, top of the hour, quick break, one more hour, and we're done for a Thursday. Leland Live.